movieweb.com.
I want to know, I haven't seen the movie, obviously. Is there a chance that this is something that's going to spawn sequels, like, you know, how they did More Than One Dirty Dozen, or is this something that's just a standalone that Quentin's never talked about continuing?
Quentin has an entire universe for Inglourious Basterds. There's an entire prequel with Aldo and Donnie in Italy, and this whole thing with these black soldiers. Quentin has a whole prequel, and most of it's written. And I think if the movie does well, he'll make the prequel. Brad wants to do the prequel. I want to do the prequel. I mean, in fact, like we were saying in Cannes, we're going prequel, prequel, prequel. He even has a sequel with Londa planned. He even has a sequel with Brad planned. And he's not necessarily going to make them, but he has the story for like 4 or 5 movies with these characters over the span, beginning before World War II, going into the 50s and 60s. He knows exactly where they're going. He has this whole universe mapped out in his head. It's incredible.
Well, one of the things with, I guess, the internet, and this might be a problem, is when you read most of your movie stuff on the internet, it seems like a lot of you guys like you and Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, there's always this flood of information that there's going to be, you know, a Vince Vega movie and whatever else movie.
Yeah, I know, and I've certainly been a victim of that. I mean, what happens is I noticed that in Cannes I did one interview, and I talked about a few different projects that are in various stages of development, but I always have a lot of irons in the fire developing. But suddenly, once that information gets out and it gets on IMDb, it's like, well, how are you directing 3 movies at once? People that aren't filmmakers don't understand how you can develop multiple projects and how they're in different stages and why some go and why some don't. And it's, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. People, like from this interview, people will dissect 15 different things, and they will break it up, and they'll piece it out, and they'll go, Quentin's doing, Tarantino has sequel plan with Brad, has a whole Han Solo 4th movie. I mean, there's no way to control it. And what I've actually said is, Quentin has these characters so specifically figured out. He has their whole story arcs of their entire lives in his head. So maybe he'll write something, maybe he won't, but it's already written in his head. People will then parcel that out into, there are going to be 4 or 5 Inglourious Basterds movies. And people are sitting around hungry for information, and the truth is, it's fun. It's like high school gossip. I mean, it's like tabloid gossip, but for movie fans. So I honestly don't see any harm in it. It's just, people are talking and talking, and they're interested in you. That's how I see it.
I was going to say, this movie's been talked about forever, it seems like, so it's finally here.
Yeah.
So some of these things become reality.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to get a movie made. And what, you know, the truth is, every week we're seeing people at studios get fired. I mean, 29 people got fired from Paramount just last week. And there's, you know, there are all these, like, Lionsgate had to cut staff, and the Weinstein Company, and it's the economy is shrinking, and, you know, the DVD market has crashed. And it's interesting how 2 years ago I talked about piracy. I was like, you guys, it hurt Hostel 2. I don't care what you say, it didn't do what the first one did. It was released in the summer, but we know for a fact that millions of people downloaded it, and now it's such a problem for all of these movies that the DVD sales are so much lower. There are just less movies being made. There are no there are so far fewer straight to DVD movies being made. Nobody kind of has figured out how to make up for that deficit of all the DVDs that were being sold that are not sold because of piracy. So it's, you know, the industry is contracting at such a rate that nobody really knows what's going to happen in the future, that everybody kind of has to have lots of things going on to eventually get one through.
And you don't think the studios have a hand or could have a hand in piracy?
No, I mean, I know that in Russia, when Timur did Night Watch 2, or Day Watch, he cut a deal with the pirates, because he's like, it's going to happen anyways.
Yeah.
I think that the only way it's going to happen is if a new system happens where you have your movie in the theater, but basically there's no more DVD release. It's an online release for $2. It's like iTunes.
Yeah.
Where instead of going and buying your movie for $29, it's just assumed that everyone's going to pirate it and download it anyways, so why not let people pay what they wish for a movie, or set it at a price point like $3 a movie or $4 a movie, where people feel like they are contributing, they don't have the guilt like they're stealing the movie, but they're like $5. I spend $5 on a copy, I'll spend $5 on a download, no big deal. And you basically come to an agreement with the public that eliminates the need for them to pirate.
I want to go back to the thing with you and directing, all the rumors. What exactly is going on with Thanksgiving?
You know, what's going on is I'm working on the script for Endangered Species. That's the next one I want to do. The truth is, there's a lot of... The truth is, I can't fully disclose what's happening with some of the projects because it will implicate certain people involved and make them look bad in a way that I don't want to. And I'm not talking about specifically Thanksgiving. There are certain other projects. There are certain companies that you are developing a project with them, and for whatever reasons beyond your control, the company is in trouble and is putting a halt on certain things until other things get figured out. So right now there's a big shakeup going on in the film industry. Everybody's projects are kind of internal. You know, the studios are hesitant to greenlight anything. There's not a lot of stuff going. People are scared about buying. A lot of the independent distributors are not buying the way they were before, not paying those prices. People are just kind of waiting to see what happens with the economy and when things shake out. The only thing I can do is finish my script. And once the script is done, then we have the plan to move forward with it. But right now I'm still in the writing phase.
I wanted to know what exactly Endangered Species was, because I don't think I've heard of that yet.
Yeah, it's the new one. I want to do a movie in the vein of Transformers. I mean, not a $200 million robot movie, but I want to do a movie that's an action sci-fi movie with lots of mass destruction. Something fun, something PG-13, but something that still got some teeth to it.
And that's all you can say about it right now?
That's all I can say about it right now.
Now, and so I guess the Thanksgiving is one of those movies you don't want to really talk about.
Thanksgiving, my friend Jeff Rendell, who I wrote the trailer with, we're outlining the script. Once the script is finished, what I'm doing now is I'm getting all my scripts lined up. So, because they're all going to be in various stages, but I do want to shoot them back to back, so I'm getting the script to Endangered finished. Jeff is actually working on Thanksgiving, and then as soon as I'm done with Endangered, the two of us are going to get together and we're going to have both scripts ready to do them back to back.
Okay, and then the trailer movie. I've heard about that, ever since Grindhouse came out.
Yeah.
That's one of those things you hear about and then you don't hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer movie is one of those things where there was just some disagreements on what that movie was. Oddly. I mean, on what types of trailers we were going to do, what types of trailers the studio wanted to do. And ultimately, I decided that their version of the movie was just not a movie that I was interested in directing. And I moved on to writing my own scripts.
So that's something that's never going to happen? Or
it might happen, but it will not happen with me as the director.
So somebody else might make that someday, but not
Somebody else might make that someday, but not me. No, I mean, the truth is there's certain things like Cell. Like, I'm not directing Cell. Cell was
I don't know what that is.
It was a Stephen King book, and it's got an IMDb, and I was attached to do it. Or even, like, Baywatch. I just saw, it's so funny how, like, Baywatch after Cabin Fever, I met with Bruce at Baywatch to direct Baywatch. And I said I wanted to make a completely ridiculous comedy. And I want Richard Kelly, who wrote this movie Donnie Darko, to write it. So I could say, from the creators of Donnie Darko and Cabin Fever, Baywatch.
I remember that from a while back.
Which to us was going to be so absurd. And then DreamWorks bought it, and they're like, it's going to be an action movie. And they wanted to put their own directing in it. It's like, great, okay, that's what they want. I mean, it's not my property, so I don't control it. And the people were very nice about it, but they're like, we're not doing a wacky comedy. Well, I just read 2 days ago that, you know, the writer of The Hangover is going to do it, which is great because, like, originally that was, I always thought that would be the most fun version of the Baywatch movie, and I'm happy they're doing it that way. But it's one of those things where, kind of as a director, you get onto a project for a period of time, and then you're off it, but that information still lingers out there until it kind of corrects itself when someone else does it.
And so, but there's no truth to the rumor that the Signal had Cell kind of shut down, because that's what I heard from a couple of sources on the internet again.
Yeah.
I don't ever trust anything, because you know the Signal came out and then everybody's big complaint was Stephen King's Cell.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we had Cell kind of up and running and going and being written before the Signal was at Sundance, and then we saw the Signal and it was like it had completely nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do.
Yeah, it was a completely separate issue. I mean, Cell is often, it's one of those things where once you leave a project, it still has a life of its own, but I have no idea what's going on. It's like Hostel 3. I said, the studio's like, we want to make a Hostel 3, there's a demand for it, and I said, I have no interest in that. I'm not in a negative way, but I'm not going to produce it or write it. I'm just not interested. I'm moving on to other projects. And once you do that, like, maybe there's a script, I have no idea what's going on. It's just off in its own.
But the same thing happened with Cabin Fever too, right?
Yeah, with Cabin Fever 2, I was like, you should hire Ty West. His new film, House of the Devil, is really terrific. And again, they shot it, and I don't know what the studio is doing with it. Or
You
what.
mean Cabin Fever 2?
Cabin Fever 2, or what happened with it.
Because that seems like they shot that a long time ago, because you remember set visit for that, like, seems like years ago.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you know, companies are like, what I've learned about the studios is that it's like at a company, when a company acquires another company, there's other projects, there are people that will be executives on certain projects, and they get fired or they leave, and the projects sometimes become orphaned. And I'm not saying this is the case with Cabin Fever 2, but like almost all the people at Lionsgate that bought Cabin Fever 1 are no longer at Lionsgate. So I don't know who there is in charge of it or is pushing it, or what it is in their release schedule, because obviously Saw is their priority and Tyler Perry's their priority. It's like, I think times have changed. I mean, those are their money makers. So I don't know what, I mean, I don't even know what's going on with the Cabin. I still call them like, are we doing a Cabin Fever Director's Cut Blu-ray? Can we? We have a high-def transfer. I'd like to. I have no idea what's going on. There's certain things you just, once you're off them, it's like, you know what? I got to focus on my next film, and kind of chasing and following up information about these other projects that Chris done.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, another thing I've learned is that no one ever really tells me the truth anyways. And I'm not saying all people at studios are liars. I'm just saying a lot of the times they don't know the information, or they can't give the information, so they'll tell you an answer that's a vague enough answer that you want to hear, or they'll get back to you and you just never follow up on it. Or they'll go, well, just tell them it's coming out soon. So it's just something I've accepted. It's part of it. That's okay.